Welcome back, everybody. We have four presenters, actually. We have two peers, Rod and Darren, and we also have Adrià and Sean for Whistler Adaptive Sports. Adrià is the lead coach and equipment facilities coordinator for Whistler Adaptive. He started volunteering with the program in 2016 in the winter program as a snowboard coach, which has grown into a full-time role he has today. He has a background in guiding and has been on and led many expeditions in kayaking and mountaineering, among others. He has a passion for the outdoors and loves to share that passion with everybody. Sean recently joined Whistler Adaptive as an executive director of the organization after a decade serving as the executive director of BC Wheelchair Basketball Society, preceded by her position at the High Performance Director of BC Adaptive Snowsports. Rod is a 67-year-old, nearly retired family doctor in the northern rural community of Smithers, with a C4 AGD incomplete spinal cord injury since 2010, along with several overlapping neurological conditions and orthopedic conditions that contribute to additional ability challenges. While his work has been important to him, he regrets that he is probably better known for his serious pursuit of outdoor recreation as a cardiovascular exercise addict and outdoor adventurer. He also has a reputation for letting enthusiasm and curiosity get far ahead of his technical skills and ability and plain old common sense. He is highly motivated by such phrases as, "I suppose somebody could do that, but they would have to be stupid to try." This attitude has continued since his injury and has led to exploration of many physical recreational activities with failures, breakthroughs, and successes along the way. Darren will introduce himself when he does his presentation, so I'm not sure who will begin, and we'll throw it to whoever wants to start.
I'll start. Hey, everybody, I'm Darren. Thanks, Ryan, for the introductions. It's super nice to see everybody. Thanks for turning out. I'm a C3 incomplete. I've been injured since 2012. And my presentation is just going to be about how my love of sports and rec has basically taught me the importance of being patient with myself, persevering, and keeping an open mind. And so like Rod, my entire pre-injury life revolved around the love of outdoors and outdoor recreation, but also playing music. All my days off were always spent on my road bicycle or mountain biking. I lived just at the bottom of the mountains. I moved here just for the cycling. I did hikes of up to a week long, multiple times, kayaking trips of up to 2 weeks. I'd never really watched TV much. My evenings were spent playing music. I play a lot of different instruments, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of that. And of course, after I had my accident, I couldn't do any of that or anything else for quite a long time. And so I didn't know what the future was going to hold for me. And I didn't think about any of that. I was just trying to move forward in simple ways for a long, long time. But a few years went by, and I started to make bits and pieces of recovery and got stronger all the time. And I started thinking, I wonder if one day I'll be able to ride my bikes and use my kayaks and, and maybe even play music again. And where I live, it's like a destination for all of the cycle racing teams. And so as spring would come, I'd see them all heading into my neighborhood, and I'd look at them, and it would kind of get me a little bit sad, but a little bit excited at the same time. And it would motivate me, and I'd bring out all my bicycles, and I'd take the dust off of them, and I'd tune them up and lubricate them, and think, this is the year, this is it. This is when I'm going to do my riding again. I'd get all excited, and then I'd get on my bike, and I'd make it to the end of the block, and there's a little hill there, and I'd start to spasm, and that'd be it. I'd push the bike back into the garage for another year. Try not to look at all the cyclists that were going by. And that went on for a lot of years. And it was the same with my musical instruments. I'd pick them up or try to. I couldn't even hold the weight of my guitars or anything. And for many years they were motivational to me. But after a number of years, they became sort of symbols of things that I couldn't do anymore and how my life had changed. And I really thought about selling them all. And I actually tried to sell quite a few of them, but luckily I was too lazy to do a good job of it, and I kept them. And but I did feel myself at that time really starting to give up. And giving up is not something that I've ever really done before. And I had a real mental difficulty with that, I'd found myself kind of in that mindset. It didn't seem like me. It was a pretty sad moment. But one day I read some article and I saw that there was people making their own e-bikes. This is a long time ago before you could buy them. And there was a company in China that was making motors and bits and pieces. And I got a little bit inspired, and I had a basement full of bicycles I wasn't using, and I decided I would take one all apart and try to build it into an e-bike. And so there I was, coming up with my own sort of adaptive solution, and it actually did lead to success. And what had happened is that I put a throttle on it, and it was pedal assist. And what would happen at the beginning is when I would get to a hill, I would just hit the throttle. I wouldn't pedal at all. And then bit by bit, I would do more pedaling and less throttling, and then no throttling at all, just use the pedal assists, level 5, and then level 4, and then level 3. And after a number of years, I found I'd become strong enough, and neuroplasticity had allowed me to remap everything to the point where I could actually cycle and do it without spasming. It was quite incredible. Yeah, it was really incredible. So I thought, this is really great. Here I am now, I'm riding a regular road bicycle with no motor. I've been doing that for 5 years. I'm well into my 60s as well. And I'm passing all the young people on their e-bikes and just feeling really proud. So I thought, maybe it's time to try to visit my musical instruments. Well, eventually I could hold them. I could hold the weight of them, but my hands were in such bad shape. They had such a poor connection to my brain that I couldn't get my two hands to work together. There was like a massive delay between my brain and my hands. So whenever I wanted to play a note, I would actually play it a little bit after I wanted to. I couldn't play in time with anybody. It was super annoying. But I decided to just press ahead and just keep going and not let my ego get in the way of how bad I sounded. And it brought me a lot of enjoyment. And eventually, it just sort of all came together. And I started to be able to play music again. And one by one, picked up all of the different instruments that I knew how to play, and was able to, in some cases, be a little bit better at them than I was. But what I couldn't do was play with people, which of course is the most enjoyable part of playing music, because I still had that little tiny delay. They call it pocket in music, and I didn't have a pocket. So I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I got a big screen theater system in my house. I'm just going to put up YouTube concerts and play along with those people, because they don't care if I don't have pocket. And to this day, I do that every night instead of watching TV, and I get a lot of pleasure out of it. So I guess what I want to say is that you never really know what's ahead of you. I mean, I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of things that I didn't think that I could do, like, ever again. I mean, I really remember just saying that was it. And a lot of activities can be adapted, as we know, and sometimes you can just buy an adapted something, join an adapted group. But sometimes, we can think of ways of doing it ourselves. And I think that all comes from not giving up, of just loving something so much that you just want to find a way of doing it where possible. I mean, clearly we're never all going to be able to do all the things we want to do, but some of them we might be able to. And you just have to try. And sort of that end, I wanted to talk a little bit about organized adapted sports, like the people that will be speaking from Whistler Adaptive, because I know that a lot of ambulatory people feel that adapted sports aren't really for us, that they're just for chair users, that we're kind of caught in the middle. And I just want to say that I used to think that too, and I found out that that's not really true. And you never really know until you actually reach out to them. A lot of us have our own biases, and we just assume that just is not a thing for us. And I'd just like to encourage anyone, if you're interested in whether it's adaptive music, adaptive gardening, adaptive sailing, adaptive sports of any kind, just reach out to an organization or another peer that might know about it, because it may well be possible. Don't limit yourself by your thinking. And I found when you reach out to some of these organizations, they've done it so many times, they'll clearly explain to you everything that they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and give you the confidence to try it. So I just wanted to say, if you're interested in any of those things that you feel that there might not be a place for you, just do yourself a favor and reach out and give it a go, because you just never know. And that's all I got. So thank you for listening, and back to you, Ryan.
I really appreciate that. I like the caught in the middle part, which seems to be a common theme among the incomplete and ambulatory community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll throw it to Rod, and then we'll jump over to the Whistler Adaptive crew and then open it up to questions.
Wow, that was such a fluent presentation there, Darren. I feel a little on the hind foot following that. Okay. So my situation is my incomplete injury is pretty much everything below the base of my neck has been affected, and all muscle groups have been affected. Even the weakest muscle group at least has a flicker. Some muscle groups, it truly is only a flicker. And ideally, I would have done a lot of really focused physio right out of the gate at GF, but there's just way too much because everything actually needs work. And so as soon as I could, I started focusing on trying to do life as physio. So finding activities that are enjoyable and sustaining, that also provide the ability to increase balance, strength, fine motor, all the things that physio would do. But I'm since adolescence, my mental health has been entirely dependent on cardiovascular exercise. So fortunately, with the injury, early recovery and sustained recovery of my quadriceps, so big oxygen demanding muscles. But I have the problem that quads are super accessible and strong, but my hamstrings and hip flexors are incredibly weak. So I can push, but I can't lift and pull. And so I was desperate in GF to get my cardio fix. But just by luck, the Three Peaks gym there has an old style stair stepper, which is the kind where when you push down on one pedal, the other one goes up. And I was able to just start, pushing on that thing and getting my fix. So when I got home, I had to find a way of doing that. And eventually online, I managed to find somebody selling one of those old style ones. And I'm sure he was very pleased at how quickly I was ready to take his price on it, because I needed it. And I'm sure nobody else would want a machine that was so old. So that established something that I could do to get my fix. I got myself a treadmill that goes slow enough right down to 0.1 of a kilometer an hour. And I installed the parallel bars around it so I can keep working on my ability to move around on my feet. Never been able to actually get any kind of true ambulation with any cadence or gait. But I can use forearm crutches or a walker, and I can get around that way, which up here in the north is pretty essential, because the wheelchair is just not going to make it to a lot of places. So it's great to be able to go upstairs and get into people's houses. So, but it's great enough to get the cardio indoors, but the holy grail is to find cardio that I can do outdoors, and is fun, and I can do it with other people. So just by luck, a few years after I got back here, somebody in town was selling a recumbent tricycle with an early version of an e-motor on it. And it didn't really fit me, but it was good enough to do. I had never, I thought about the idea of doing like Darren and actually getting back on a bicycle, but my ability to be able to get a foot down would, the fact that I couldn't, it would be very unreliable for me to be able to get a foot down to stop me if I was falling over. It was just going to be too unsafe. So having the recumbent tricycle was just a godsend, because I could get on it, and it was always a struggle to do the pedaling motion, because I can push, and that can push the other foot around, but there's that 15 degrees at the bottom end that is kind of a dead zone for me, because I'm not high enough that I can push with the other foot yet. So fortunately, I was able to enlist at the time an engineering student that was here for the summer, and we designed a system of an elastic band that will allow me to build up the potential energy in the band as I'm pushing into that dead zone, and then it will bring it around the 15 degrees. And that has allowed me to be able to actually pedal even after I had a hip replacement and a broken femur and lost a whole bunch of function. So yeah, just by having to get creative, there's nothing like that existed. Ideally, I would like to get something that actually has a fixed wheel, so that the momentum of the rolling bike would keep the pedals rolling. And I've done that, because it's actually not too hard to set up on a recumbent tricycle, but you only have one gear, and I just don't have the strength and cadence to work with one gear. So yeah, I'm looking for interested engineers to address having a way of gear shifting with a fixed wheel. Just a note that for people that are wanting to get creative with finding ways to do their recreation, Tetra is absolutely a wonderful organization that can help with so many things. I did engage with them for something on my wheelchair, but trying to do it from a distance really, honestly, did not work out terribly well. So if they can link you with somebody that's close to you, it can certainly work a lot better. So I got a couple of more minutes here. I guess the other thing that beyond the cycling stuff, the thing that much of what I've managed to get into has just been just by chance. I mean, I see Jason is here, so I've got involved with the Zoom boxing training classes, and that's wonderful. But I've also had the opportunity to do some stuff with Whistler Adaptive, because yeah, before my injury, I was very much into backcountry skiing, and particularly uphill skiing for the cardio. And after my injury in Smithers, they wanted to put on an event to do, yeah, it was basically, the idea was to, with teams or alone, to use climbing skins to head up the ski runs and do it enough times to equal the height of Everest. And I misunderstood when they asked me if it was okay to reference me as the inspiration for that, because that was kind of stuff I did all the time. And I thought they were asking me if I wanted to be in it. So I thought, well, why not? And I managed to get on the touring skis with the touring downhill bindings, skins on, and found that I was actually more stable and could walk better with that than I could just do free walking, because you got these wide platform and you got total ankle control, ski poles to keep you upright. And I knew I could go up, but then I had to try to get down. So that's where Whistler Adaptive came in, and managed to find a way that I could. I should, in retrospect, I should have defaulted to the smart thing of doing sit ski, but I was fixated on the idea. I wanted to use the skis that I had skinned up with to go down, and so they managed to do that for me. So big shout out to Brian Rode, if he is still working at the Whistler Adaptive. He's the one who got me sorted out on that. So I guess just there's a whole bunch of other things, but the process for me through the whole I guess getting back into doing things really came down to just staying open to any opportunities for things that I may not have considered, and just go with the flow for anything that comes up. And then when there's things that I thought I did want to do, I'd go through the process of saying, well, what's stopping me? What actually are the barriers? And then just totally blue sky. It's like, okay, what are possible ways to get around that? Whether they're realistic and sensible, or fanciful, impossible, and possibly dangerous, just get them on the table and then look at it and say, well, okay, is there a way? And just by looking at ways of modifying the environment, adaptive tools, rarely any off-the-shelf tools of any kind would be helpful. It always have to be creative enough to make my own. And the single most important thing is just the assistance from other people. And I do have to say, just never underestimate the joy that people get from helping you with a project to get involved with an activity again, because it has just been fantastic for me.
I like that last point, incorporating friends, family, people in your circle just to work together to build towards a goal in the rec world. I think we're going to throw it to Sean or Adrià, one of the two or both. Take the floor.
If we have any problem, I can do that too. Well, I think I know you. My name is Adrià. I'm the lead coach here at Whistler Adaptive Sports. I think I see some familiar faces. Probably, yeah. Hi. It's amazing to have you here again. And very inspiring for everyone. I started volunteering with Whistler Adaptive back in 2016, and I just discovered a true passion, like sharing my outdoor passion here with everyone. Who we are. So Whistler Adaptive Sports, I think we started like 25 years ago. I was little. And we provide outdoor sports for different athletes, cognitive, physical challenge, and specifically for you, athletes with spinal cord injuries, complete, incomplete. And we do that all year round, 365 days a year. First of all, sorry for my accent. If you have any trouble understanding my accent, I am from Barcelona. I'm Canadian already, so proud, but I still have my accent from there. So as I said, we work winter and summer. Winter operations, we do have two different programs, the community program, and we do alpine skiing, alpine snowboarding, and sit skiing and Nordic skiing. Also snowshoeing, you should all try through the community program. And that means that we work with local athletes from the sea to sky, from Vancouver up to Pemberton. And the thing is that we coach them through the season. so they can come every week, any day of the week, and then we'll be coaching them through all the sports. And then we also partnership with Vail here in the mountain, and we have a bigger alpine and snowboard program through Whistler Blackcomb, and it's all alpine there. So both ways we can provide access to those amazing winter sports. And then in the summer, we offer a broad variety of different sports. From some of you have tried that. I can see John, for example. He's canoed with me, and it was amazing. So we do canoeing, we do kayaking, we do paddleboarding, and then that with any adaptation we need, and we are very flexible, and we really adapt for any need. And then we are trying to be big also with all the biking, adaptive biking, like enduro biking, downhill biking, or valley trail biking. Like not road biking, but we offer a lot of like lessons in the valley trail here in Whistler, which is really safe. It is a wonderful experience. And we do have different bikes to really adapt to different individuals with different needs. We have electric bikes, adaptive electric bikes that can go to the bike park and do some jumps. But we can also offer like different like bikes for the valley trail. For ambulatory, I would say I would use those ones too. For me, being an able body, I have so much pleasure and I have so much fun with our bikes that sometimes I just don't bike my stand-up biking, and I just jump into our adaptive bikes. So adaptations to any outdoor sports, yes, we do. For ambulatory, you know, what's your name? The last is that Richard who was speaking before me?
Rod.
That was me, Roderick.
Hi, Roderick. Hi. Hey, amazing speech. Yeah, we all want you doing outdoor sports with us. So inspiring. So you were saying like Brian Road helped you with that backcountry day. Like he's a good friend of mine and potentially my mentor in the winter. And I know he's very capable of like finding the right pieces of equipment, the right adaptation, so you can go skiing or alpine skiing. So yesterday we were doing the first adaptive backcountry camp with Arc'teryx, and we just like jumped into the skins with different people. And we went up to the ridge here in Disease Ridge with a guide and us with different adaptive tools. And it was one of the best days I had in the backcountry. I did many days, but yesterday was amazing to see the different people that they couldn't believe what they were doing. And yes, we did. And yes, it happened. And I'm really proud of Whistler Adaptive that we can manage to do that. And the athletes, they had an amazing experience. I remember having lunch up in a ridge, seeing Whistler Blackcomb from above, and they skin up. So there's ways to do as Roderick were suggesting. And as we say, like, okay, ambulatory, should I use a sit ski? Should I not? I would say, me being an able body, I can ski, but maybe 35 to 40% of my ski days in the resort are just sit skiing. And I would encourage all of you to try alpine sit skiing, because it's a curve, like a learning curve. It takes a little bit of time, but once you are learning, once you are gliding and know how to turn, it gives you a full independence in the mountain. And being ambulatory, that means that if you crash, you can jump out of the sit ski, you can reposition yourself, and you can sit ski again down the hill, which is a huge advantage compared to other athletes. So I would encourage you to try sit skiing in the alpine. And then I would also encourage all of you to come and try the Nordic adaptive Nordic program that we run in the Callahan, which is just amazing. We can offer like stand-up Nordic days, but also sit ski Nordic days. And yes, it takes a little bit more strength, but it's amazing for the cardio. So you really get fit and benefit from being outside, exercising and working out. I can say like one of the best activities I can do for getting fit in the winter would be sit skiing in the Callahan, Nordic sit skiing. And it's just amazing because like mental health, it's nowadays so important, right? So like being out there, being up in the Callahan in Nordic sit skiing, it's just like I come back home and I'm like energized. So I think that's one of the best things we can do in the winter, trying both. And then during the shoulder seasons, we also offer a indoors like strength and conditioning program. We jump into the fitness room in the gym, and we provide these services to our athletes so they can still be doing activities oriented to the new season. So in the fall, we work with them so they can get more strength, mobility, proprioception towards the ski season. And then in spring, we work with them inside so they can be biking with us in the summer. And I would say the biking program is something we want to grow. We offer rentals with a guide, and I might be your guide in the summer if you come biking with us. We'll have so much fun. Yeah, I mean, I came here in 2016 and I just like, I'm gonna get my PR. I'm gonna come back to Whistler. This is amazing. The landscapes are amazing. They did everything, like the mountains, being able to like bike in the summer. It's just such an amazing experience. I really encourage you to come and try with us. And there's no limit, I would say. We can try, we have different bikes, as I said, and we can adapt to all your needs. Sian, I don't know if you want to add anything to what I'm saying.
But Adrià, you did a great introduction and you did a great presentation. And our two speakers before, Darren and Rod, I think you summed up as well, like just come and try. Adrià and our coaches are so adept at adapting the situation. I'm just going to give you an example of we did a big activity last week that some of you might have seen on the news with the Invictus Games training camp, but I want to highlight a lady who was from Colombia with a spinal cord injury, who had never skied since her injury, was so frightened of what it would be like. And by the end of the week, she had downhill skied and she had Nordic skied, when at the beginning of the week, she did not think she would be able to. And just seeing that confidence in her, just her whole demeanor change over like the course of the week. And you know, we know that that is only part of a long journey, but just it gives that intro into things that are possible. And Darren, just hearing you sort of saying, you know, you wanted to give away your bikes and then you came back and look at that grin. I just saw it. As Adrià said, we offer a lot. I'm not sure if you also mentioned that we do swimming as well up here in Whistler and Penn. I got one. And that is an amazing program as well. Just, I know we don't have much time, just to say as well, we have a bursary program and we have community programs to make it affordable. For some of you, you know, obviously you sort of think, oh my gosh, downhill skiing is so expensive, and we all seen the news with like Vail, like charges so much. It's not true. We can make this affordable and accessible to you. Adrià mentioned the Nordic skiing. We do have a great opportunity coming up on March the 16th. It's called Skiing is Believing, which I just love the name of that. And we're going to try and get as many people to that as we can. Ryan and Terry, I'm going to chat to you about whether we can bring some people up from Vancouver. But it's a great way and a great informal way to just try the equipment, to get in and out of a sit ski. If you're ambulatory, try it with like some assistance. And it's a really beautiful environment. If the downhill skiing seems a bit intimidating at first, the Nordic skiing is just a lovely, quiet and welcoming space. So I will just wrap that up. But thanks, Adrià, for everything.
Thank you.
That is awesome. And I want to let people know, because we do have some out of towners here, that people do go for your services from out of town. They usually kind of parlay it with a holiday. So they take their family to Whistler and then use your services. It's quite good. We have a question about accessible rooms. So you kind of touched on the affordability side. Whistler has a ton of accessible accommodations. They had the Paralympics there in 2010. So a lot of really good options to actually stay there.
Yeah, and there is the opportunity again if people can stay at the Whistler Athletes Centre. It's a centre that the Spinal Community BC use when they come up as groups. That is fully accessible. But again, yeah, as Brian said, there are lots of places.
Yeah, and we have 3 or 4 people that have actually come to our Whistler Adrenaline Weekend, and it's made excellent because of organizations like yourself. So for like kind of that question too, talking about like accommodations and stuff like that, if you ever need help looking these sorts of things up, or you're curious about recreational opportunities in your corner of the province, we have an amazing info line. It's a 1-800 number or email address that you can reach out to and ask these sorts of questions. I'll get Terry to link the information in the group chat. I think we're going to open it up to questions. I did have 2 questions for Darren and Rod, and I was curious, how long did it take for you to know your limits? So I know it's easy to kind of push yourself sometimes and be hurt for a couple days or be sore or have a negative experience if you kind of do a little too much. How long did it take you guys to learn that, kind of what your zone was?
Well, for me, my limits were always obvious because it always involves either falling over just because I had no balance at the beginning. You know, and what was funny is that I could move forward on flat ground, but the minute that I had to stop, I could put my feet down. But once I was stopped, I felt like the world was doing this, and I would go to compensate and fall over. So I eventually was like, don't compensate, don't compensate. So once I got past that, it was just all about, you know, once I could pedal without spasming, basically, you know, that was always the limit for me, was the spasming.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually recognized limits before injury or after. They obviously occur, but I guess I'm always just trying to tune out all of that stuff anyway. And I guess the biggest thing is to more recently is to try and determine with anything athletic, I mean, I expect to push through pain, and that can be a good thing if it's lactic acid pain. But as the body is falling apart, I have to start to try and sort out, is the pain that I'm feeling actually useful pain that is telling me I'm damaging something, or is this just messed up nerves and it's just tune it out? Because if I'm getting my cardio, that trumps everything. It's like, okay, so what if my lower back, it feels like it's getting crunched? I'm just going to keep pushing because I'll get my buzz. And most of the time it is just messed up nerves, but sometimes it is, oh my God, I should not have been doing that. That was causing harm.
Yeah, and I would add to that, Roderick, that's why I think it's important on the first steps, like to be guided by people that coach adaptive sports, because I think like we can guide you more and be aware of all the safety aspects of trying these new sports, making sure that we don't do what we can, not damage anything. Like one of my main concerns when I start or any day, right, any lesson, is like, okay, is it gonna affect negatively in some way to do that? Okay, let's change things, because there's nothing worse than just, okay, yeah, I've been sit skiing all day and I've been doing this activity, but then I won't be able to walk for like couple weeks, or I won't be even able to be sitting in my wheelchair. So we try to manage the risks and be on the safe page all the time. So that's what I think, like on the first steps of trying again to do outdoor sports, I would really recommend to be doing with some organizations like ours, so we are on the page, and we can train you, we can coach you, and then you can start gaining a little bit more confidence and knowing what you're doing without causing any pain.
Thank you. And yeah, for those who kind of like the visual representation, for just kind of encouraging yourself to kind of get out and try that thing, there is a really good Instagram page that Whistler Adaptive has that I linked in there. Any tips or general suggestions for overcoming imbalance and fear of falling, too slow of reactions, that sort of thing, especially where I have no access to adaptive coaches?
The first thing that I would say is, like, if we are sitting and doing the sport sitting, there's less risk of falling from higher, right? So I would say try sport that you can be sitting at the beginning, so you regain that like balance and overcome the fear of falling. And then as you learn, like, let's say if you're gliding on a sit ski, it's you're less inclined to fall from there and get hurt as you're skiing stand up. So I would say, like, lower the risk by like being sitting when you're doing those sports.
I don't know if Rod or Darren have a take on that or suggestion.
I'm not sure I quite got all that.
Yeah, it's in the chat. Just talk about in general tips or suggestions for overcoming imbalance and fear of falling. What might have worked for you when you were kind of to wreck?
Thanks. Well, I'm probably like Rod. I don't really have a fear of falling. I'm happy to fall. I mean, and falling's been a big part of every sport I've ever done. Almost every injury I've ever had in my life, or every doctor appointment I ever had up until, well, recently, was all from sports injuries, from going over the handlebars on my bikes, or, you know, wrecking my shoulders from canoe racing or whatever. So I think, you know, I don't know, I can't speak to balance because I think that's more of a, it's more complicated, but I mean, you know, and also everyone's level of how they can tolerate being injured, you know, due to the nature of the shape their body's in, or their own sort of mental willingness to just deal with it is different. So it's really, I think that's really personal stuff. You know, my way is, you know, I don't, you know, I just don't mind falling. So for me, that a fear of falling is all in your head for me, but it's obviously not for everybody. It's, you know, there's other considerations. I think that would be really hard stuff to make general comments about. You know, wear lots of padding, I guess is all I can say. And a good helmet.
and baby steps, like try.
I think we're, yeah.
Try baby steps. Like, if your objective is doing that, then break it down into different steps and start with baby steps. If to come from here there, it takes me like to do that, just break it and glide a little bit first, and then glide a little bit more, and challenge yourself really small and really slow.
Rod?
Sounds like good advice.
Unlike what you supposed, Darren, my experience is exactly the opposite. I have a horrible fear of falling. I'm tall and skinny, and I have osteoporosis, and I have spasticity that if I get startled, everything goes extensor. So if I go down, I'm going down like a telephone pole. And I might have a chance if I go backwards of actually, you know, bending my knees and, you know, landing on my bum. If I go forwards, it's going to be a serious, ugly face plant. So the thing that has let me get past some of that fear is water. So initially, when I left GF, I didn't think I was going to be doing anything in the water, because there's no access to a pool that is warm enough outside of GF and the Stand Strong pool. So, but just, I guess, a couple of years after I got back, I had a friend that was planning to sail around the world, and he thought it would be a real cool thing if I could come and join him in the Caribbean to go snorkeling. So he said, "Hey, I'm going to get you in the pool here, And he wrestled me into a wetsuit that let me tolerate the cold in there. And that just opened up all of the water sports stuff, even to the point of doing stand-up paddleboarding, because why not give it a try? It's an inflatable board. It's not going to be a hard surface to hit, and then it's just water. And sure, I mean, get the two-wheeled walker on there so that I'd be able to get up from my belly onto my knees and get standing, and then take the walker away, give me the paddle, a couple of strokes, and I just go shooting off the back within a couple of strokes. But it's like, hey, that was okay. And so, yeah, water, major benefit to get past that fear of falling.
Thanks, Rod. Jillian?
I just want to address the fear of falling. I was falling at least once a week, often getting seriously hurt, spraining ankles and things like that. So and as I'm going out feeding the animals at night, if I fall and get hurt, I'm gonna freeze to death. So I had to adapt to that. The orthotics for my feet and the braces made such a significant difference in the past 4 months. I haven't fallen at all. And I very seldom even stumble now. So those are some things that are helpful. And I also want to stress that what I did was I got a book on orthotics and a book on rehabilitation. And in that was a section that advocated for people to learn how to fall. And I can't stress that enough, to actually practice falling, thinking about it. And one of the things is, as Rod mentions, folding at the waist to fall forward, or that you fall backwards and land on your bum. So it was just a wonderful section in this rehabilitation book. So I practiced that so that I learned to fall effectively and safely. So now, since I have the braces and orthotics, I don't fall at all. But I want to say that practicing falling and looking into that, there are guidelines in rehabilitation books on how to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jillian. My physio clinic actually has the proper foam mats to teach people how to fall. For that individual out of country that asked that question, I'm not sure what your insurance is like, but maybe the first step might be to discuss that with your physio and also ask them what sort of adaptive rec opportunities are in your states. Darren, you mentioned he wanted to mention that anyone that want a paddleboard, that Costco has paddleboards with the removable seat, if you don't feel like you can stand. So I do know people that do the hybrid, sit and stand, do a little bit of both the same session. So good tip. Do we have any other questions before we wrap things up?
I have one comment, Ryan. Even though, so I'm not an ambulatory, I'm in a wheelchair, so I don't really actually probably want to say anything. I've been trying to not. But one of the things that I have struggled with for a number of years is, and I don't know if this might help anybody, is trying to reframe how I do things, right? Like realizing that I don't actually have to do things how they were before, that it's okay to do things differently, and actually it's an opportunity to try something in a different way. So like sit skiing, for example, like I'm also really afraid of falling. I actually fall out of my wheelchair a lot. And a lot of people encouraged me to try sit skiing, which I did try with Whistler Adaptive as well, and did a few times. But I was not a person who wanted to do it on my own. So, like, although everybody's like, oh, it's so awesome, you bond with her, and I have so much independence and freedom, for me, having someone there behind me guiding the sit ski down the mountain gave me freedom, because I didn't have like my increase of flight and what was it again?
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight. Thanks. Yeah. Anyways, so if that's helpful at all for anybody, you know, it's just don't fight against it. It's at least starting at some, you know, point.
And on that note, I think we're going to wrap this up. We appreciate everybody coming. Want to thank our fellow peers in the chat, Rod, Darren, and James, Adrià and Sean from Whistler Adaptive, and Kate and Rachel from the Sexual Health Rehabilitation Team. Again, we really appreciate everybody coming on, opening up. This is not just for us, but these types of information sessions are just for the future people too. Like, I know when I got injured, I was scrambling for looking for any sort of information, resource, just hitting Google hard. And it's one thing just to be reading medical textbooks. This is another to actually see people of lived experience and other people in that world that could provide really good services for everybody. So we really appreciate your time. And yeah, thank you very much.